One Man's Family, winner of 42 national awards, a Carlton E. Morse creation. One Man's Family, now in its 25th year, is dedicated to the mothers and fathers of the younger generation and to their bewildering offspring. Today, Pinky and the Unsigned Document. Jack Barbour, arriving home from a trip to Sacramento, puts his car in the garage at 10 o'clock on a rainy March evening, pauses on the back steps to hang up his raincoat where it can safely drip, and finds his wife Betty smiling at him in the open doorway.
Hi there, Betty. Everything okay?
Well, you've got the same wife, same bouquet of daughters.
Feels as if I'd been away a month. How are you, honey?
Lonesome. How is the governor?
Well, he sent his love.
Oh, Betty did. He doesn't even know me.
He sent you his love anyhow.
Oh, come on in. Let's shut the door. Pinky wants you to call him.
Oh, no.
Shut the door, Jack. But that isn't all. Lots of people want you to phone right away or come over or write them a letter. I never realized what a big shot you are until you leave town.
Let's go in the living room.
Didn't you forget something?
Oh, gosh, my bags are on the porch.
I don't mean that. How are you, Betty? And no kiss even.
Holy cow.
Toodaloo, I'm home. What's the news? And no kiss. Jack, don't. Now, Jack Barbour, hey, cut it out. Jack, stop it. You'll wake the girls. Jack.
There.
Idiot. Look what you did. My button's gone.
I started to kiss you when you mentioned Pinky. What does he want?
Oh, he's got a moral problem.
What was that? Hey, who's out there?
Uncle Jack?
Oh.
Come in, Pinky. He hasn't been home 3 minutes.
I think.
Did Aunt Betty tell you?
Not yet.
Jack, I told you he had a moral problem.
Well, I mean the details. Does it have to be settled now?
It does if I'm to get any sleep.
Well, that's pretty important, all right.
How long you been gone? 2 days? I haven't slept a wink for 48 hours now. Just tossed.
Sit down, Pinky.
Betty, before we get into this, I'm so thirsty my throat aches.
Frozen orange juice. How's that?
Sounds wholesome.
All right, I'll be right back. Go ahead. Don't wait for me. I've read it 2 or 3 times anyhow.
Yes,
Don't you want to sit down?
no, I'd rather stand up, Uncle Jack.
Okay. What's the problem?
I suppose you heard Cousin Consider finally decided to go to the islands and close the deal for that property?
Has he gone?
Oh, sure. He took off yesterday morning.
How was he?
Not so good. Mom said it's the first time that he ever looked his age. He kind of tottered up the steps to the plane, and that's a fact. We didn't think he'd make it. But he said a lot of papayas and pineapple juice, and he'd get well again. So even Hank thought he'd better go. He's so disappointed in me, he couldn't stand it around here anymore.
Because you're going to get married?
Oh, sure. He made one final last proposition, and when I turned that down, it broke him all up. He climbed into the plane one step at a time with the stewardess helping.
Sad picture, Pinky.
Yeah. Well, now let me ask you something. If he should, not live,
No?
and he hasn't signed the new will, which cuts me out with $1, well, will the other will, where I'm his chief beneficiary, would that still be in effect?
If it were the only one, yes, it would be probated. Why?
Well, it was the day when you left for Sacramento, Uncle Jack. CZ came over with one last proposition. To go to Europe and help the Hungarians. Tony sold him on the idea. Anyhow, I had to turn even that down on account of Greta. He must have figured I'd accept, and then he'd whip out the new will and tear it up before my eyes, see? That must have been what he had in mind, because this morning, Mrs. Kettleman, pumping up the cushions in the chair in my bedroom, well, here's the new will. And all 4 copies in the yellow manila envelope, not signed. He must have dropped it, and it got shoved down between the cushions.
Oh.
See? Leaves $1 million to the Spirit of the Dance Foundation, and $1 to me. But it's not signed. So you see my problem? Do I mail this to Uncle Jack, or do I just forget it?
Well, what do you think?
Here you are, Jack. Ice cold orange juice. You want some, Pinky?
Well, give him mine. Toss that off, son, and I'll get you another one. I'm sorry it isn't stronger.
Yeah. Have you got a long manila envelope, Aunt Betty? I got to get to the post office and mail some stuff to Hawaii.
We'll return in just a moment to One Man's Family.
The old order changes from year to year, even for the military. Compare Army life during the Civil War with that of you men in uniform today. Take military intelligence, for example. During the 3rd year of the Civil War, a Colonel Sharp was placed in charge of a Bureau of Military Information, and appointed Deputy Provost Marshal General. But there was no Army intelligence as we know it today. The closest thing to real Army intelligence was a military secret service organization set up by a Major E.J. Allen and attached to the Union Army. Throughout the Civil War, Major Allen and his associates not only secured enemy information, but were also responsible for the apprehending of many Confederate spies and collaborators. When the war was over, it was disclosed that Major E.J. Allen was in reality Allen Pinkerton, founder of the famous Pinkerton Detective Agency. Today, however, intelligence is a well-organized division of our Army with a manifold duty. It is responsible for the collection and evaluation of information concerning the military and related activities of foreign countries, as well as the preparation and distribution of such information to our military personnel. Army intelligence is also responsible for information on the strategic vulnerability of our country and for information on any individuals or agencies which may be potentially as well as actually dangerous to the security of our country or our military forces. Security is the watchword and keynote of its work, and when it comes to keeping our Army well informed and our country well protected against invasion or internal revolution, you can be sure that Army intelligence is at your service.
20 minutes later, Pinky lets himself into the family home the back way and goes quietly up to Paul's studio at the top of the house. Here he listens for a moment to the gentle rain on the roof, then inserts a sheet of paper into Paul's typewriter, and using the hunt and poke system, finally completes the following letter, which he now proceeds to reread.
Dear Uncle Cliff, Aunt Mary, and Andy, how are things in Scotland? I would tell you how things are with me, but it would depress you. I just got back from the post office, and now I'm here in Uncle Paul's studio on a rainy night, wishing I was in Scotland. I'm engaged to a beautiful girl, Greta Stephenson, whose sole ambition is to be a good wife and have many sons. But tonight, while mailing the letter, which abandons all hope of my ever being rich, I realize that she's too nice a girl to throw her life away on a hard-luck Joe like me. I would tell you the details of what's just happened, but I'd cry on the keys. Now, what I want to ask you is this. If I get over there to hike, could you help me learn the weaving trade? What I think I'd better do is live in a stone hut, eat oatmeal, and do something with my hands like weaving and be a bachelor. So, Uncle Cliff, if you know of any weaver who'd like an apprentice...
Paul? Oh, Pinky.
Oh, hi, Mom. I imagined you'd be in bed.
No, Dan and I've been reading. We thought we heard Paul come in.
Just me. Uncle Paul isn't due till tomorrow.
Yes, I know. Well, did you talk to Uncle Jack?
Yeah.
Does he agree with me?
I mailed the royal airmail, care of the Surf Rider.
You know Cousin Considerate will be at the Surf Rider?
Well, that's where he was the last time. He liked it there.
Mm-hmm. I'm proud of you, Pinky.
Sure.
Yes, I know. Did you tell Greta your problem?
Yeah.
What'd she say?
Tomorrow to him. She didn't even hesitate. She doesn't want any dough we don't earn. Mom, she's the greatest.
She is indeed.
If I ever disappear or anything, you tell her I really, really, really loved her more than I could even begin to say.
What do you mean, disappear?
Well, you know, you read about guys disappearing, or they get run over by a truck or fall off a trestle. You know, the papers are full of that stuff. Well, if it ever happens to me, be sure to tell Greta that I really, really loved her in a big way, but I couldn't actually say it.
Pinky, don't talk this way.
Yeah, it kind of scares me, too. So I guess I'd better get to bed. Tell Dan good night for me, Mom, and good night to you. Tomorrow can't possibly be as awful as today.
More of the Barbours in just a moment.
This is Bill Goodwin. You know, someone once said humor is the true democracy. And that's why we Americans can smile when we tell the stories of the legendary heroes who helped to build our country's great institutions and industries, like transcontinental transportation. Ever hear of Windwagon Smith? Well, in the early pioneering days, most of the traveling was done by ox team, and if folks covered 15 miles a day, they were doing good. That's about the time Windwagon Smith showed up with his Prairie Clipper. The Clipper was a wagon without any animals to pull it, but with a sail sticking up from the middle of the wagon. When the wind caught the sail, the wagon took off. And that's where Windwagon Smith got his name. He figured he might be able to cover as much as 70 miles a day with the Clipper, and folks began to figure it might be a good thing when Windwagon pointed out how fast the country was growing and how more transportation was needed to haul people and goods. Then he invited the United States Secretaries of War and the Navy to ride on the Clipper's maiden voyage. But disaster struck. The Clipper got out of control, the Secretary of War rolled out, and the Secretary of the Navy landed in a cactus patch. But Windwagon and the Clipper kept going and never stopped. As transportation grew in America, people all over the country claimed to have seen Windwagon Smith. He was in the pilot house of the first steamboat to sail up the Yellowstone. He held the Golden Spike when the first transcontinental railroad was completed. And when the first transcontinental plane roared out of Kansas City, it was Windwagon Smith, the spirit of American transportation, who waved the pilot on his way. Yes, it is a democracy which lets us tell stories of such legendary heroes with a twinkle in our eyes and a chuckle in our throats. And so long as we continue to laugh together as a people, ladies and gentlemen, we will live together as a nation.
In the master bedroom at Jack's house at 2 o'clock in the morning, a cold wind blows a mist of rain through the open window. Drops of moisture fall on Betty's face.
No. Get down. Oh, look out, no, Pinky.
Hey, Betty. Betty, wake up. You're dreaming, Betty.
Oh, Jack.
Hey, what's the matter?
Oh, my. Oh, thank goodness it's just a dream.
What happened?
Oh, a dream. Oh, my. I was out in the backyard and it was raining, and I glanced over toward the Golden Gate Bridge, and there was Pinky doing a tightrope act way up high on one of those slippery cables, hundreds of feet in the air, and I yelled, "Pinky, look out," and he turned to wave at me, and down he went head over heels, falling.
Yeah, well, you know where that came from. The kid had a rough evening.
Oh, he's had a rough year.
Yeah. It's a pattern.
Is it something he does, or the way he thinks, or what? Must be the way he thinks. I'm glad I'm not his mother. He'd break my heart. I get all choked up sometimes just being his aunt. Don't you, Jack, being his uncle? Thank goodness you're the tiredest piano girl ever. Well, good night.
One Man's Family, which comes to you Monday through Friday, is written by Harlan Ware and directed by Carlton E. Morse. This program has been selected to be heard by our armed forces overseas through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. In Chapter 49, Book 125, The Letter in the Wastebasket. Frank Martin speaking. One Man's Family, winner of 42 national awards, now in its 25th year, is a Carlton E. Morse production and comes to you from California.
This is the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.